The void stares back. The credits are rolling, the mics are recording. Gaze into the void with your hosts, Josh and Joey, as they discuss thoughts and questions surrounding visual, written, and interactive media steeped in cosmic horror.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Void Stares Back.
It's me.
And me. I'm Josh.
And I'm Nic Cage.
Dang, what an honor for me. It's like a dream come true.
Yes. I get that a lot. I'm actually called Joey.
This is a podcast about cosmic horror and media, and we are recording on March 9th, 2020.
That sounds right.
We just finished watching the 2019 film Color Out of Space, directed by Richerd Stanley, starring Nic Cage and Joely Richardson.
And other people.
Yeah.
I'm
Those were the two
familiar with.
headliners, yeah. The young lady was Madeline Arthur, who's the daughter. She's
I feel like
kind of
I've seen her before and stuff.
I hadn't.
She looks very familiar
off the top of my
me.
head. I couldn't think of where to place her, so
Well, me
I don't know if
either.
this
I
is
just
a...
recognize her face is all I mean. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know where
I had...
from, but...
Yeah, I had not when I saw this, So, here's your spoiler warning.
Oh, yeah.
We are going to spoil the crap out of this, so...
We will talk unabashedly.
Yeah, if you have not watched it yet...
it's available.
It is available now on physical media. This was going to be one of our big movies for last month, February, and we couldn't get out to see it.
Yeah, it was not super convenient to see it in
no.
theaters for us and still do the podcast side of things.
Yeah, it was,
as quickly as we like to do.
It was basically almost an hour away drive time for us to go, and
yeah, we like to just see it and then start recording. So.
Yeah, that's kind of the whole reason we're doing the show.
That's one of the big rules.
Yeah. So we waited till it came out on physical media, and
it was quick. It was
like a month after it was in theaters for us. So
I think, is that like the new straight to DVD? Is that like what that is?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I know that
sees limited release, then DVD pretty quick. Like Lighthouse was similar, and
yeah, because Lighthouse came out in October and then hit shelves like December,
I think.
Yeah,
right, yeah.
So yeah, they're definitely getting faster with the turnaround time, or more pre-planned, I should say.
Is that still not true of other like big hit blockbusters?
Or is that
is it also faster?
I think that's more dependent on studio, like from studio to studio, because I think
they scheduled a whole year like way in advance for when things release, and that sort
right.
of stuff
And
too,
I'm saying I think that some studios, like if they have a big blockbuster hit in theaters, or what they imagine is going to be, they wait then for the release to be either, I would imagine, around a holiday or during their down season, like when they don't have something in theaters, they rake in a bunch of DVD sales, right?
Sure.
So I don't know. This is a very, very layman's view on the industry, because I have no insider information whatsoever. I have no idea.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense to do it that way.
Yeah. If I were a business owner, that's how I would do it. But that doesn't mean...
If you're in it to make money, and it seems like they are.
Yeah.
It seems like a reasonable way to do it.
Yeah. So, but anyways, if you haven't seen this film, I certainly recommend it. If for nothing else, to understand have context for what we're about to talk about. But also,
sure. I mean, if you'd like to listen to us ramble without any context,
that's cool too.
I still am interested in talking to you. I mentioned it in the past. I don't know, what we offer you.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about weird, big philosophical things.
Yeah.
As they relate to these pieces of media that you aren't watching.
Right.
Hands up. Put your hands up. I want to see who in the class here hasn't watched it.
You down in front.
Very interesting. But go watch it.
Yeah. For those of you who aren't just discovering us via this episode.
Yeah.
I imagine that you're already into this sort of thing and have probably been looking out for this film. So.
Oh, for sure.
It's currently holding an 86% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you that care about such a thing. So it's doing positively well, at least critically.
Sure.
I've heard mixed reviews from audiences. So
I mean, I just said when you said that, as if I knew that it was at 87%. This is the first I'm hearing of it.
Yeah.
I was just sort of in auto response mode, and I was like, give him a sound so that he knows that I'm listening.
Yeah, acknowledgement. It's important. If you've been listening to our podcast for any amount of time, you'll know that when Joey talks, I go, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
I was going to make a reference to like a restaurant interaction where it's just like, hey, have a nice day, and then you go,
yeah.
Oh, they think you're an idiot.
Yeah. My favorite is when somebody says something to the effect of like, now I'm blanking on like the exact phrase, but like they'll say something that does not actually apply to them, that only applies to you, and you're like, yeah, you too.
Right.
And then you realize after you've said it, you're
enjoy
like,
your food.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Waiter's like, yeah, enjoy your meal. You too. Thank you. How about thank you?
It's a visual meal because we're so handsome.
Yes.
That's what it is. That's why we came to this Denny's. Anyways, let's talk about the movie. How do you feel about the film overall before we get into like, obviously you're like, I recommend you see this, not just in the context of the show we do, but
I recommend people see this. I personally loved it as a experience. I think it's a wild ride. It definitely has its flaws, but overall I enjoy it very much.
Sweet.
So it's right up my alley, both visually, like from a filmmaking standpoint. All the technical aspects and stuff I really enjoyed.
Cool.
The acting is definitely like ranges from decent to completely off the charts, like weirdo gonzo, and I love
weirdo gonzo.
Yeah, and I love that.
He's a frackle. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Some Muppet trivia for you.
Yeah. No, I got it.
I was just letting them know.
Oh, yeah, the listeners
they're
at home.
unfamiliar with frackles and Muppet lore.
Yeah.
That's the term they use for Muppets that aren't from Earth.
Oh, okay.
They're called frackles.
Yeah. I'd heard the term before, and I knew it was from Muppets. I didn't actually know the distinct lore.
There you go.
That's great.
My cup runneth over with Muppet trivia.
Was this the color out of Sesame Street?
The color out of Sesame Street. Get out of here. Talking about Gonzo, baby.
Yeah, I know. I think that there's a nice blend in this film of both CGI and practical effects.
Sure.
And it's never like this. It's pretty seamless for the most part in terms of like what it's trying to convey. Obviously, it's very apparent some of the stuff that is practical versus not.
I mean, you can.
I think overall,
you can tell, obviously,
it melds well as an art form.
That's like saying, is what you're looking at real?
Yeah.
At that level, you can obviously tell, but like,
right.
If you suspend your disbelief, it's not. It's not something that breaks you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's more what I'm talking about here. But yeah, I love the color palette.
Sure.
On everything, not just the titular color, but no, I thought it was a really beautiful film to watch, in addition to being entertaining.
Sure, so. Yeah, no, I mean, you had quite a long-winded.
I did. Sorry, that was
no, you're good.
Yeah.
Answer to that question, so I'll just answer it for them. I enjoyed it as well.
Okay, and I had this like weird feeling that you were going to be like, yeah, I didn't really like it that much, And,
I mean, I think there were parts I didn't like that much, but I think that though the parts that I didn't like that much were the parts that leaned into modern spooky movie.
I'm right there with you. We can talk about that at length too. There's definitely some stuff in here that I, as a major fan of the original story, and if you've been listening to us, the last episode we put out is
we're
Defarba.
We're at the tail end of our...
Yeah, Color Out of Space.
No, we're in the middle. We're smack dab in the middle of our Color Out of Space-a-thon, because the tail end of this month we'll have the audiobook coming out.
Yep. Shameless plug if you like what we do. We do have a Patreon, and we record audiobooks of H.P. Lovecraft's work as a reward for you backing us, because this podcast needs to remain free, and that we believe that very strongly.
Yeah.
We just like to give back for anybody who wants to support us monetarily. via an audiobook that ties into one of our episodes. And this month it's both episodes. So
we'll be releasing the actual reaction to the original H.P. Lovecraft story as a podcast episode.
Yeah.
In real time, we've already done that.
Yes.
A few months ago.
Yeah, we did. Because it was in preparation, like I said, for last month. We were hoping to get out to the theater to see this and then have it all happen last month. But...
And everything went horribly wrong. And we got some corrupt audio, and it was a lot of audio got corrupted. And so we basically had to re-record the audiobook side of things. And so it was just a good opportunity to postpone them.
Yeah. Like so as you're listening to this, hopefully we'll have done that already, because that episode should be coming out literal days after this one. In the release schedule.
Sure, I trust you.
Yep.
I was like, my brain was like, fact check him, Joey, and I was like, you can't, you don't know. And it's like, no, but you have to know.
As of this recording, DeFarba's coming out in 2 days, so by their listening,
we release
already
it.
Been
we release
out.
it in the last Saturday of every month, basically. So wherever that is, that's where the podcast is.
Yeah.
Woo, oh, crazy.
But anyways, we were talking about. You enjoyed it.
I did. I think, and that was the only element I didn't like.
Yeah, was that there's
moments where they touch on it, and it's just traditional spooky movie thing.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like let's just dive in, I guess, at this point. The number one moment for me, and it was really early in the film.
Is it the tent scene?
Yeah. I was like, when I first, so we talked about on previous episodes that this was going to be double blind, and I broke that rule.
He did.
I couldn't wait, and I apologize officially on audio to the public, to you, Joey. For
I thought you were going to apologize to them.
No.
Because I don't care. If anyone cares, it's them.
Sure. Well, I couldn't wait for listeners at home.
Yeah.
I bought it the morning it came out, went straight to Target, and picked up one of the only 3 copies we got.
Yeah.
Came back home, made myself a cup of coffee, and watched it immediately. Little does Joey know, I watched it again that night after he left the apartment with my girlfriend. So I've seen it twice before this sitting now.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, well, I remain a true virgin to most of these films that you'll see us watch on this show.
I think it's an important dynamic that we keep.
Well, I'm happy to keep it since I don't watch movies actively in my free time. So
yeah.
I only watch movies for this show. Yep. So, but yeah, he has hopefully a deeper, detailed perspective to bring to today's episode. There, I've set the standard.
Ooh. Oh no.
You scummy little pre-watcher.
Oh no. But yeah, so when I first viewed it, this tent scene with Ward Phillips, I don't know if you caught that reference, Joey, but
well, I thought it was Dexter Ward or whatever.
Charles Dexter Ward. No,
Curious Case. I thought it was going to be weirdly tied in there.
Howard Phillips Lovecraft. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Nope. I didn't know. Phillips
and we could dive into the discussion that I'm sure has risen somewhere on the internet. I haven't read any, but about the fact that they cast a person of color as this person who's supposed to represent Lovecraft himself.
I mean, if that's
as a statement of some kind,
confirmed.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm sure that somebody else brought it up as a talking point, trying to uncover whether or not that was a very specific choice.
Sure,
that's all.
Okay, yeah. I just didn't know if it was like just a reference, because that happens a lot in.
Cthulhu things. That he's supposed to be Lovecraft?
No, that he's named
Ward
after
Phillips?
him.
Oh, yes.
Just that's the end of that line, and it doesn't go any deeper than him actually being Lovecraft or reinterpretation of what it means to be Lovecraft.
Right.
Within
I
the
was
context
bringing
of
up
the universe.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's
okay.
Yes. No, it was just a referential name.
Okay.
But I think that the name and then the fact that, Lovecraft is known as a racist, and then they chose to cast someone referencing him.
Yeah.
I thought
sure
it was an interesting choice.
I mean, I don't know. I didn't really notice it during the film.
I didn't know if you'd pick it
up.
Yeah, well, I didn't know if you'd pick the name reference at all.
I was...
and then if that had any
The
connotations.
only thought I had was about like the potential for sequels, right? Like, and not direct sequels to the story, but just more tellings, and like what connections this story would have to a shared universe thing that other movies in the future could be about. And and I was thinking on Dexter Ward and not.
Yeah.
Had not even close. Didn't enter into my mind at all that was a play on name. Yeah, mostly because I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I actively don't know a whole lot about Lovecraft himself.
Sure,
for a lot of good reason, I imagine.
There is, going to be a shared universe. Spectrevision, the company the studio that put this out, that's run by Elijah Wood and a few others. They've been greenlit for a trilogy at the very least. Or 3 films that share a universe, not necessarily super connected in story, but and they're doing. Richerd Stanley's going to direct again. They're working on Dunwich Horror. So. Yeah,
because they mentioned, I figured that the connected universe thing was going to occur because in the film there's moments when you hear like weather reports about news ticker tapes about the the local area, and Arkham's mentioned a lot, but in the news Dunwich is mentioned, and
Dunwich,
yep,
some of these other places, Amesbury and Kingsport and all that stuff. So
I was like, okay,
there was a nice attention to detail in terms of Lovecraft country and the references in his works throughout this film. Like the news crew van had an elder sign as their logo.
I didn't notice it. I was looking at the anagram or whatever, or not.
WARK. And I think it was just West Arkham or something news, or that's what I read it as. But the leaf symbols and as an elder sign, and I was like, oh, that's cute. And, and Ward Phillips was wearing a Miskatonic University shirt, and
little things. I missed a lot of that granular stuff.
So anyways, back to this tent scene though. So I'm watching this, and it makes the color out to be almost this like stalker killer, right? That's very just classic archetype from slasher films, and I was like,
maybe. I think after that, I didn't feel that way.
No, and I agree, but that moment.
No, even during the scene.
Oh, really?
It felt more like, because obviously you see it, like the stalker element of what you're talking about is extrapolation. It isn't matter-of-fact evidence that occurred in the scene, right? It's like you see Ward's expression, and you're meant to go, okay, he's prey, and that kind of thing. If that was where you took it, but to me, it just felt like a baby, like the curiosity. It's like, look at this car, and it just turned it on, and it was playing with it, and then it left. It like could have murdered the shit out of him, and and it was
right there,
like 10 meters at best from the dude. And then less at certain points, presumably, depending on how it influences the world. But I don't know. It never felt like it was, hunting him in that moment, or that he was truly in threat of danger of a malicious form.
Sure.
As we see later. It was just playing with stuff, and didn't react to Ward at all. It was just moving on its own accord, and Ward was catching glimpses of it.
Yeah.
I didn't get that at the moment, but I could see why. It seems that way.
It was just, on my first viewing in that moment, I was like, oh, I hope this isn't the tone that they took with this. Like,
it is a little.
For the rest of the whole movie, like, it being this, like, stalker, It
is a little.
A little bit, but it isn't as heavy as I had thought that it might be.
It didn't traditionally, it didn't replace the monster film.
No. Anyway, that's really all I had to say about that moment.
That moment I think is fine. From my perspective of what I want to see in a movie, it's just that it actively was jump scary, which is the part
the car lights coming on, and there's a loud musical noise at that moment. And
the musical cues and timings, and it was all like super formulaic.
It was
in that particular scene only, basically. I mean, I'm sure it touched on it a little bit here and there, but for the most part, that was like the biggest offender, I think, was that scene.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, and then I guess a little bit in the final scene, not the exact final scene, but the later scenes when they're leaving Ezra's place.
Yeah.
That was the other big traditional spooky movie thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a guy getting plucked from behind from your main character, main focus.
Yeah.
And yeah. I thought that moment in particular was pretty out of place.
A little bit.
Because even for where the rest of the story goes, like in terms of how the color manipulates anything in this film, that or in the original story or any other rendition that we've seen of it,
mm-hmm.
it never really manipulates like other life forms to hurt anyone, and that was like just a very stark difference from anything else it does or how it behaves that we know of.
Well, I sort of assumed it to be less about like it manipulating life forms to harm other life forms and more as it was just a conscious decision by the color.
Yeah, and that's weird.
Sure. I don't think that's true. I mean, it did other things that cared about humans.
Sure.
You know, in like an aggressive manner, at least from our perspective. And that one was like, at least appeared to be, because we only get to see it and then we're done seeing it, right? It's just Ward is done. He's got his shotgun and he's out, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it seemed like the most fruitless murder or what have you. It was just a kill. It was just killed the dude who had the big weapon at the time, and everybody else had like weird symptoms of the interaction. Not those symptoms weren't exclusively death. Yeah. And his was the only one whose was. Which is unfortunate, but maybe they just wrote the sheriff out of the story. You've been pulled.
Yeah. Literally
out the top of the frame. But yeah, so those are like the only downsides that my brain, bookmarked, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm kind of right there with you.
I mean, you mentioned the acting being like, there being a range, and I didn't really feel that way.
No?
It, obviously every piece of film has a range. It's just how close is the range to its upper and lower limits. And obviously this one's a little bit looser than some of the crazy films that we've seen with as far as acting goes, like The Lighthouse and Annihilation and, some of these bigger acting successes, I guess. But I didn't really feel like it dipped crazy low. Like, I mean, the story, the original story is weird.
Oh, for sure.
Right. And I mean, like, there's something to be said about how do you write dialogue for characters going through a thing that doesn't occur ever.
Yeah.
Even in like a tangential real life form of actual psychosis. Like, I don't know. It's curious. And I didn't feel like anybody had a weaker performance than anybody else, because the parts where I would consider it weird were like story related, like plot, like when Nic Cage just pulls his like spoiler alert, I'm not a massive fan of Nic Cage historically, as I'm sure many people feel.
I was going to say that's like there's like a 50-50 split. Like
I think it's worse than that.
Really?
Not in favor of Nic Cage. I think at best people think Nic Cage is okay. Like in those cases, I don't think people are polarly like he's incredible and my God, he's awful. I feel like it runs the gamut. But most people I've spoken to, which I don't specifically have anybody categorized in my brain as like things they say about film is like I respect as gospel, but that's just how I treat the world about any piece of information. So if somebody's like, Nic Cage sucks, I'm like, great, I've duly noted, but I'm going to form my own opinion, thanks. And then same is true if they really like a thing. And I mean, we've notoriously disagreed on many things in life, like board games and, whatever. And that's the spice of life, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Having different perspectives.
Yep.
So regardless of what the actual split for Nic Cage is, I find myself on the lower half of that percentage. I don't think he's awful, because clearly he's not. Like, he's quite a good actor. But his performance in this movie reminded me, his early performance was like, he's like pretty good Nic Cage right now. And then he starts to go crazy in the context of the film. And I'm like, he's just acting like some of his bad movies where he was trying to act well in, but it has like, story implication in this one, and it makes sense that he's like talking like William Shatner sometimes, except the Nic Cage version, which he's done in actual films he's attempted to portray people in and that sort of stuff, and it's kind of strange. It was weird so that was the only standout performance because of that like meta external fact about like his performances.
Like I liked where it went, like where he went with becoming like his father.
Sure. I mean, they all had a thing like that.
Yeah, it was just weird that he basically sounded like Donald Trump.
I didn't even think about that.
Oh yeah, it's like
occasionally, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't get that vibe when I was watching it, but I can kind of hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just kind of the way he like certain pauses.
Well, that's like the cadence that he spoke.
Yeah, was very very much like just an audition for Alec Baldwin's part as Trump on Saturday Night Live instead, or something like that.
I didn't feel that was very close at all as I was watching it.
Well,
but I guess I can kind of see it because my connection to that, it wasn't Trump; it was his other acting gigs that are infamously bad. You know, like I have no good examples because I don't watch a lot of his stuff. But like Con Air comes to mind as like a weirdly overacted thing that, you know, is an interesting movie.
I consider
but like
Con Air one of his better works. So
I don't think it's a bad movie. I just don't really think he does a good job in it. His accent is dog shit.
Well, sure.
One of the worst Southern accents I've ever heard. It's so weird because like I've heard him do good accents before, and that one was probably like a, you know, like guess what, the movie's going, get ready, you know, and he just had to do it kind of thing, like or just wasn't given prep time or to actually flesh out a character that was anything more than like theoretical.
Yeah.
Like outside the performance aspect of it. I think that movie's fine. But
yeah.
I don't know. It's just Nic Cage. Like, I just don't think he's super great.
Sure.
But that's just me.
Yeah, I don't think I mean, he's done more movies than I'll ever see.
He's done a fuckload of movies. And I mean, I think that also plays into statistics, right? Like, you know, you put fucking some of the most incredible actors in front of the screen like 3 to 4 times a year.
Yeah.
You know, because he had a span where he was in everything for a while, right? And like,
well, even now he's even in more things now than he was. There was
there was a fall down, and then he's like in a resurgence.
Like, I just was reading something that like as of this recording or when this movie released, he had 6 projects currently in some stage of production.
Sure,
coming out this year alone.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean. I guess maybe all of them will be good, but like I doubt it, you know.
Well, right, So, I mean, the more darts you throw, the more wild extremes of the bell curve you're going to see, right?
Yeah,
the chances go up, and you know, I don't know. You get like, you know, incredible actors, like I was saying, in front of the screen that many times a year. Like, they're not all going to be fucking hits just because, you know, they were in one like incredible Oscar-winning movie at one point at some time in the past, like. You know, everyone has their off day. Yeah. Everyone has their little like Christian Bale light guy day or whatever, you know, or boom operator.
Oh man, yeah, yep.
I get it.
Don't even get me started. I'll quote that thing from front to back too. that was a very like meta joke between me and some friends for a long time, as I'm sure it was for a lot of people. Yeah. Well, let's talk about some of the differences from the original story.
Yeah, I was curious. I felt like vibe-wise, before we get into the specifics, that it was somewhere between the original and Annihilation.
Yeah, I agree.
And it was an interesting like balance. Like there was like pretty direct ties to Annihilation and like the way that movie showed off that story, just visually. And obviously it had bookending quotes from the original text.
Yes, which I thought was great. That opening shot of the trees from, you know, worm's eye view of the trees, and
if we're talking about that, that's my favorite shot in the entire movie.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah,
just the B-roll right at the top of all, you know, the misty, foggy forest.
This is gorgeous. Yeah,
the very first shot of the canopy.
Yeah.
I don't know who did the fucking color correction on that thing, but it's
stellar.
It's like the fucking, Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel. Like, look up and see that. I'm like never leaving. And,
right?
It is incredible. Incredible. Everything, I imagine.
Yeah.
I went into lighting that and all of it.
Really phenomenal stuff. I agree. Yeah. The cinematography overall in this film was really top notch. So
yeah, I mean, there's definitely a point when, the story takes precedent and it just needs to be good and solid so it doesn't take you out of anything. And and it didn't go unnoticed. So good on the crew. And the, what's that? So who's the person that is like, outside of the director framing shots that like is in charge of that? There's like a name for that.
There is a director of photography.
Photography. That's director of photography.
And
an important job.
Yeah.
Important job. Well done, whoever you are.
Very much so. I'm sure it's listed. Ooh. Edit that out. I'm sure it's listed at the back of the box here, but
probably.
I'm not going to read through the small text. Sorry, everyone.
Just know that your work.
Go to the IMDb page.
Yeah. So just know that your work didn't go unappreciated.
Yes.
Whoever you are.
I bring them back. Come back for the next couple.
Yeah, same crew.
Yeah, please. It's supposed to be same producers, everything.
I mean, crew often depends on where you are.
For sure, yeah.
Hire locally and that sort of thing.
Yeah. But it's possible that like the core team here, director of photography, cinematography, and obviously Richerd Stanley and the producers are all coming back. I think for the next few. So
sweet. I'm sure a lot of that will also depend on how well this film did overall in sales.
Yeah, I don't know, because I know that the release in theaters was a limited, and that was a conscious choice from the studio, so they got to be basing it off of
kind of thing that
physical sales and digital sales, I imagine. So
I'd say the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, and that critical review, which has been primarily positive, so I imagine they'll be hitting it hard with the same crew the next time around, hopefully.
Cool.
So, but anyways, yeah, that bookended text was nice, which pulls you in kind of immediately, referencing the original story.
I mean, I think that
a lot.
Yeah, I think that those chosen lines, I think they don't work as well if you're unfamiliar.
Yeah,
because it is a bit obtuse.
It very much so. I mean, it's Lovecraft's writing, at its core, and for sure. But like to the layman,
me knowing the context, since I had the fortune of, like we said at the top of the show, having read the story first. I think made those hit better.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. I think that it's probably not as strong for someone who's never read Lovecraft in their life, or even just never read this story.
Just that story.
So, but yeah, I'm glad that you picked up on the where it sits in relation to Annihilation, because I had that feeling as well. With a lot of the different beats.
And, I mean they went on a similar visual representation of the color. Akin to the shimmer.
Yeah, especially in things like whenever there's a shot of water, or like his ice cubes in his whiskey glass and stuff like that.
I mean, the scene that we didn't like has it, right? Like the flashlight / torch shimmer.
Yep, in the dark,
has that sheen, that oil sheen. That you see in real life. Do you want to jump into something specific? There's lots to talk about.
There is
lots of little moments.
I
mean, you touched on the dad thing, right? The transformation of the dad. Everybody had a story.
Yes.
Right. They had a thing that they were faced with, which was less akin to The Color Out of Space and more akin to Annihilation's thing, where they all have their own demon that resurges within the shimmer.
Yeah, I agree. There's some of those that I wish were and this movie clocks in at 2 hours already, but I wish that there was some embellishment or just diving a little bit further into some of them. Like, we get a small view of the daughter, Lavinia, being into what we assume is Wicca, or, some kind of white witchcraft, performing rituals, and she has plenty of texts throughout her room, and symbology and posters and things like that, and but we don't really get a whole lot other than a couple almost throwaway scenes of her mid ritual.
Sure.
And that's it. I wish we could have gotten a little bit more than that.
I mean,
not that it's necessarily super relevant to what's happening in the story, but
sure.
I liked her character enough that I wanted some of those moments fleshed out further.
I mean, it's interesting that you say that. This is a modern retelling, if that wasn't apparent.
Oh yes, set in modern day. The original happens in the 20s.
Yeah, and so there are some variances in things that you would find available in this new time. You know, like there's a scene that has AirPods in it, and like they've got cell phones and all this fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, you talk about the text she has, and one of which is the Necronomicon, a reprinting of the actual of Necronomicon.
Yeah,
and she just casually likes to read this in her free time.
Mm-hmm.
For her Wicca, I don't know, you know, like So with that said, to me, she felt the equivalent of somebody, because like you liked her enough that you wanted to see more of the weird shit she does. But I would argue, I think her character is more representative of the purchased at Target Ouija board.
Sure.
Where she's really a poser.
Yeah.
You know, and like she's not, like, as much as she is into the stuff, she really isn't.
Yeah, I think she's
a child.
Someone who wants to be. Yeah, she's very much like only dipped her toes enough to like understand that you can do rituals.
It's the kind of person that you see in high stats today wearing a Nirvana t-shirt, who doesn't know dick all about the music, you know, or something like that, because you can purchase them everywhere.
Yes.
And that sort of thing.
Sure.
And so it proliferates itself. She feels like that kind of person about all these little things where she's just like, oh, that would be cool if I was into that, and then grows out of it kind of thing.
I don't disagree. And when I say I wanted more of those moments fleshed out is because I got that vibe too, especially from the very first scene. She's performing a ritual. She's naming names like in front of me, so-and-so, to the left of me, so-and-so.
She barely remembers the ritual.
And then she pauses and like almost makes up something, you know, and I'm like, okay, you know, and I wanted maybe
it also sounds like she lies to Ward a bit about like her not truly knowing what she's doing.
Yeah,
because he has information. He's like, is it one of these two things? And she's like,
well, which one do you think it is? You know,
like caught in the lie, you know, a little bit. You know?
And she even has that little smirk when he gets it right. What some of the things that she is doing,
he
probably knows.
I think the smirk manifests to something like, oh, he knows about stuff that I am vaguely interested in. Like, that was what I got out of the smirk. Not like, oh, I've been caught and that's also attractive.
Sure,
it was more like,
I'll go with that.
It was more like, oh, he maybe has a dark side.
Yeah,
you know, or whatever that means. Because
later
he
she's
knows
like, he's
about Wicca,
cute, you know, and like really that means like, oh, he might be relatable. You know?
When he's not working for the fucking city testing water, he's out there in his fucking grunge outfit, moshing with the rest of them.
Right. But when I say I wanted some of her moments fleshed out more is really what I kind of had hoped for was that she would dabble into something that she didn't fully understand and it would have repercussions.
Well, I think maybe she thought that at some point, right?
Probably.
Like that was because everybody had that's the story part, I think, is everybody had a correlation to help their small human brains explain what was going on. You know, or a manifestation of a thing that they could comprehend, right? Like, you know, you become influenced by weird sonic and visual information from this thing, from the deep reaches of space, and that trauma manifests in the only way that their psyche maybe, you know, the easiest to grab hold explanation, because that's how stories about ghosts come about. Sorry if you believe in them. I don't, and here's the science. But like when you see a thing at the corner of your eye, people who just go ghosts, they were already prone to think that was possible, right? Like that was the closest neural connection in their brain for them to grab the explanation. And some people go the wind or gravity, you know, they seek another thing, but that's just because that thing is often the closest thing in their brain. And then so when you experience trauma or whatever, you would quantify what's going on in this film as, you know, those are those things. Like, you know, we get dialogue from Nick about his dad before he becomes his dad, and like,
well, and I think that's to set up why he's acting the way he is,
right? Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not just setup, but it's a representation of things he actively thinks about and is like consciously worried about at all times.
Yeah.
You know, he's living in the house his dad built and like shit like that. And
Mm-hmm.
he's like, well, I fucked it. I said I'd leave and I didn't. And then his wife is facing her mortality and like, you know, is zoning out and cutting her own freaking fingers off and shit. And like, you know, and then that vapidness is what, you know, that the void for her is just what overtakes her, you know, and grows and becomes the thing that is the quickest part of her brain that, you know, gets her locked into it. And, you know, her daughter has that lifestyle, the rituals, you know, the emotions that she feels about her family, you know, in various ways gets amplified and stuff because she's one of the more main characters with the dad and the mom, you know, in the family dynamic. Like the other two are a little bit fade back.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I just felt like it was a man
quite literally for the little boy fades to the back.
Yeah, I guess so. Jesus. So yeah, I don't know. I think it, you know, it was justifiable for me in my brain as it was happening, but
sure.
I mean, I get why you'd want to see more of that. You fucked up, you know, interested in ritual cult man. You.
I find,
and I'm not just saying that.
I mean, I just find that whole anything dealing with occult culture very fascinating.
Sure, yeah. I don't disagree.
So of course I'm like you say, that's something that my brain grabs when I, you know, if that's a thing.
I mean, we get a little thing. We get a little thing. It's like in line with your hopes and your dreams.
Oh?
Yeah, we get a fucking, you know, hand-holdy makeout sesh-esque travel to another universe when Ward stares into
Oh yeah.
What's her face's eyes? That's like
Lavinia, yeah. Oh man.
It's like a mash between what's that movie I didn't like?
The Void?
Of The Void?
Yeah.
I don't know why I wanted to say Abyss. We haven't watched that.
Should we?
I don't know.
Okay.
It was just the word that came to my mind.
He's almost annoyed by that question.
Well, I haven't seen it. I don't know. No, okay. I literally was incapable of answering it.
I think we should.
Okay. It was like a mashup of The Void that we would start episode 2 of our cast.
Yeah, go way back.
And a mashup of, and the reason I bring up because they have an ending scene in that movie where, you know, it's like a giant CG stage with 2 real actors having been, you know, green screened into it of this world that we are vaguely meant to understand.
Or not.
Well, I mean, it has fucking pyramids and we have pyramids.
Oh, you're talking about The Void. Sorry.
Yes. That
yes.
that vibe that, you know, that we get a visit. We get to visit this like horrifying like plane of existence straight out of D&D or some shit. Like a realm of torment.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's a D&D reference, but it's in something. I've heard it before. It's in my brain. I know it. I've seen it. I've seen the other side. So we get that, and that felt like a mix between the Void scene and the art and stylings, I guess you could say, of the horrifying visuals of the video game Agony.
Yeah.
Had the that like the spire with the weird like Oblivion symbol at the top.
Also Dead Space
was very
has the obelisks that look like that as well.
Oh yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But it just felt like ripped right out of like that like visual cue.
One like the landscape is literally made of writhing tentacles or worms or some alien life. Yeah. It was. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And there was also like a fucking castle in the background.
Yeah.
There's like actual like constructed structures that
what I think that's supposed to be
or spires and shit
is the Dreamlands.
Sure.
You know, which are a physical plane that you only can well, there's a number of ways to get there, but the easiest is to astral project yourself there via Beyond the Wall of Sleep.
Just you know, just astral project yourself.
Yeah, man.
What's the big fucking deal?
Hey, when we read the Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath, you'll
know. Fucking spoilers, dude.
We're going to read all of Lovecraft's work. How's that a spoiler?
Well, now I know it's about fucking astral projection.
The title is called... Oh, I forget that you just don't know things sometimes.
I know about astral projection. I just didn't know it was in that story.
Well,
it's fine. I'm immune to spoilers. I'll have forgotten by now because I've put it in my mental shredder.
Get some B-roll audio of a shredder.
No, it'll just be dialogue from Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, that
we get this.
You get that
scene.
because of the frickin' symbol she carves into her forehead.
Yeah, which is actually a Nordic rune. But
what are you gonna do? She's a hipster who likes
she's a
all
poser.
These weird. Yeah,
she's a poser.
I mean, hipsters are posers. Calling you out. You guys don't have a culture. Don't lie to yourselves. It's colonialism, the fucking culture. You just fucking appropriate everything that your fucking parents were into, but you're not like them. And lumberjack looking motherfuckers spinning your turntables that you bought from.
I feel personally attacked.
Hey, luckily you're not a hipster. You just look like one, just like me.
I mean,
people think I'm a hipster because I look. I mean, that's just the stereotypical.
Joey, I wear checkered flannel.
You do?
I have a beard.
Check.
I have a top knot Viking haircut.
Some of them have that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you a check for that one.
I listen to indie music.
Check. You're way too into coffee. Check.
Yeah.
Luckily, you don't think you're better than everybody else for having known about coffee before it was around, because that's not fucking possible. I
don't think I'm better than anyone.
Right.
So
that's what I'm saying. I mean, you're not a hipster at the core. You just outwardly appear to be, which is, I'm outward facing hipster. Inward, undetermined.
You were known as that hipster guy.
Oh, I know.
When you came to work at Target with us.
I heard the whispers.
Yeah.
That's not true. I always assume that's what I'm referred to behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I have a weird haircut, and I dress fancy when in just inappropriate settings for fancy dress.
Coming in to push the food truck, wearing a vest and a tie.
Hell yeah.
I mean, that was me just 10 years earlier. So,
when you were actually hipster of mind and body.
Yeah, no, I was more like emo hipster then.
Sure.
You know, super into my Chemical Romance phase.
I mean, everybody had one of those from our generation.
Now it's just in my heart, not on my outside.
It's in my heart.
I absorbed it inward instead of
deep within me.
Yeah. It's coming back, man. They're coming back. It's coming back. I'm like, no.
Force it down.
Stop. Swallow. I'm not okay. Oh, but yes, we do get some sweet payoff for Lavinia's occult weirdness.
Yeah, just that moment. That's it.
Yeah,
that's all you get. Other than the
carving symbols into herself in a circle of candles.
No,
and
that wasn't payoff. But the
okay,
I mean, it was just her reaching that point of insanity.
Madness.
It wasn't really like, and here's another thing.
Yeah,
you didn't expect. It's like, oh, sure. Okay. It's like the end of that other movie we just watched. What was it? The space one?
Oh, Event Horizon.
Event Horizon?
Yeah.
And he just shows up and he's all crazy looking.
Yeah, he's all carved up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that. Right. I was just trying to get us back to where we jumped track.
People's stories.
Yeah. I was just say like the older brother. I've forgotten all their names. Benny.
Yeah.
He's got his dog and he's in the Kerbal Space Program or whatever the fuck he was playing on his computer.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that's what it was. I don't know what that game really looks like, so can't confirm. Space game. He's playing a space game. He's got space imagery
everywhere in his room.
He has an actual black and white photograph of a meteor crash site
on the moon,
a crater,
there's
some kind of crater from somewhere on his wall.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of cute. When Lavinia comes into his room towards the end there, and she's staring at the computer screen. It's going all haywire. Behind her on the wall, the only thing that we see art wise is one photograph of a crater.
Yeah,
and below it, one photograph of like weird space color. And I was like,
like a nebula.
Yeah, little meta. Okay.
Well, I mean that's a common thing that people have.
Like, no, I just mean in referencing to what the movie is actually about.
Sure.
Yeah, I was like, it's okay.
They're chosen, Josh. Don't you know? Carefully selected by unbiased alien selection program.
Sure.
to land in their backyard. His story is, why I consider him, more of a background character is not huge.
Oh yeah,
he's farm dude who likes his dog. That's his story.
Yeah, likes to hang out with the local hippie.
Yeah, and pothead, I guess, and he holds it together the longest, probably.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's the only one who holds it together,
even in his crazy moment of, insanity or hearing what he thinks is his dog. It's not even that outlandish. Like, he's like, oh, I'm just gonna go get the dog. Like, we gotta save the dog.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, even in that moment, he's the only one acting sane when confronted by the color. He puts on goggles to protect himself from seeing the color.
Yeah.
And that's like a really interesting step to take for that character who is just otherwise not super bright as a
I was gonna say kind
character?
of just vacuous a bit.
Just a spacious dude.
Yeah.
And
it was interesting. I imagine, I haven't heard this or read it, but I imagine there's probably a lot of people criticizing that moment, saying like, why would you stop to put on goggles? Why wouldn't you just climb out of the well? But like,
that seems a weird moment in the film to start like questioning people's actions.
Yeah, well, no, I know, but I'm just saying,
just
like,
funny.
I can hear people saying that,
Sure.
Why would you try to fumble through your pockets for these goggles? And like, but I had the same reaction you did. I was like, oh, that's a really smart move in that intense of a moment. You know, like,
I mean, it felt like, so we get some imagery from Ezra to sidetrack once again from the family stories.
Yeah.
Because Ezra doesn't get screen time enough to have a story.
No, and he replaces our Ami Pierce character.
Sort of, yeah. Yeah, he acts as the other person.
Yeah, he's just
that's nearby and actually interacts with them.
Yeah.
He has, he goes mad or whatever, as all characters in these sorts of stories do.
Yeah.
But in a spiritual way, he sort of has an ascension of his own kind, and he's aware of what's going on. He's like, the character before things go down is a paranoid character. He's already got paranoia issues. He's off the grid, living off solar power and drinking coffee every day. And who knows where he gets that?
What are you trying to say?
I'm just saying, he's a hipster living in the woods. You're one large body of trees away from that character.
Dude, I would be that character.
He was
in
great.
a heartbeat.
He was great. We both audibly laughed when we realized he was in the film.
Tommy Chong.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
like, no fucking way. This movie just got way better.
Oh yeah.
But in the final moments they find his body. Well, first of all, he's been, the only one with a scientific approach that was exposed to the color, in long term, right? He's recording himself. He's notating, facts because he probably can't trust his own word or his own mind anymore or whatever. But the final position they find him in is one of kind of like Buddhist monks, self-emulating, cross-legged in the streets and stuff.
Yeah.
And
except he's just very relaxed though in his armchair.
Yeah. He and he's got his whole, like, who knows, what culture is being appropriated face paint there. And he's, but the reason that I make that jump is because of the way he explodes at the end.
Yeah.
And his face caves in to the color as in the position of a third eye.
Yes.
And like little things float out of the cavity in his skull. And,
this replaces Nahum's collapse in the original story.
His dry ass lips.
Yeah, and his face, or to quote the story, what was left of a face caving in on itself. Yeah. Yeah, and I did not mind this switch of moment for that.
Well, a lot of things had been switched up to that point too, so it'd be nice to find their way back to the canon and then continue what they were doing.
Yep, still reference that original story.
Yeah. I was just curious that he had, that sort of visual telling of what was going on with him.
Yeah, and him being the one that quotes all that stuff that in the original story Nahum does, but it's on Memorex. Which I love that line. Nobody would believe me unless I got it on Memorex. And I was like, oh, only a character like this would say Memorex.
A line like that?
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, he might be the best character in the whole movie, honestly.
He's pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just wanted to touch on that. Those two characters, Ezra and I already forgot his name. The older brother.
Benny. You wouldn't report Benny, would you?
You don't have children. I might someday.
Someday I might. Yeah.
Those two characters are the only ones with, like, you know, from the viewer's perspective, any level quantity of clarity.
Yes.
Right? Like,
yeah.
Ezra, to the people in the universe, is a fucking crazy person.
Yeah.
But obviously we are, you know, are privy to more information than those characters are. And so Ezra's talking about real stuff and the way that he can manifest it.
Yep.
Or understand it to be. And like predicts the way his cat will wind up. And like, you know, has like these other like, you know, and he knows, you know, and that, you know, that feature of him is extended, right? He knows Ward's name and his profession before he gets to his house.
Yeah.
And that is just like, you know, at the time framed, or for me, you know, my perspective of it at the time is just framed as his paranoia. Like he's got cameras and he's got microphones or whatever he's got strewn, wired up in the forest in some quantity. Might even have their house
under surveillance
in some capacity.
Yeah, because in the wide shot of his home, like the one that we get where they're walking up to him in the chair from behind at the very end there's a lot more screens than what we actually see when they zoom in on what Ward is watching happen
there's a
outside.
few more. Yeah, he's got like a grid of like 8 or 9 or something.
Yeah, so it's very possible that he's got at least some path to their house under surveillance or something. Yeah,
or even, you know, just overheard leading up to it when like the other people were heading there or whatever.
Yeah,
and like clearly he probably has dealings with the town in some capacity if he's
the sheriff knew who he was, you know, when
obtaining coffee and like, you know, coffee beans and that sort of stuff. Yeah. So if he didn't hear it from like actual conversation with a town visit, then presumably he's got the place wired up.
Yeah,
you know? But I think that trait, as I said, is framed as paranoia when you first meet the character and he interacts with Ward, and then later manifests as premonition. And it's like, when you see my cat, he will not be the same on the outside.
Dude, I got just the smallest little bit of goosebumps when he said that the first time I watched it. Yeah, he's like, well, I was like, we're gonna I don't know if you'll recognize her, and I was like, oh.
we do get to see her twice, actually.
Yes,
we see her in the road on the way back from the hospital when she's like hairless and giant headed and whatever else is going on.
The eyes completely white.
And, and then we get to see the final resting place of, at the very least, her collar.
Yeah.
In the giant amalgamation in the back of the pickup truck in front of City Hall. Great place to take it. I don't know. I don't know how big the city is and like how many places. Like if maybe it's attached to where the actual sheriff's department is and like all that.
That's very possible.
It's just one place that people go to.
Yeah,
for government stuff.
I was gonna say the public works building or whatever. Yeah. But
yeah. So it's curious how, like, you know, each of these stories flips in some sort of crazy way, right?
Yeah.
You know. And then finally, to finish my thought, the small boy, you know, plays the normal like moth to a flame role that lots of kids play in horror films, where they're like, the monster's my friend, or the ghost, like Annabelle shit or whatever. It's the ghost is possessing the poltergeist. He talks to me, and the parents are like, oh, this isn't cool, we gotta move. Yeah. Or whatever, you know, and traditional child role. So speaking of, what was the kid's name?
Jack.
So I loved the way that they like, I don't know if this kid is just that blind and actually needs these glasses,
where his head's tipped up half the time,
and like the magnification on his lenses is huge and stuff. But the way that they always chose to shoot Jack, like, he's my favorite character visually. I love Jack every time I saw him, like, because he gets to like he gets to stare at the color, interact with the color, and be stared at by the color in a number of different moments.
Yeah.
Alone, and so we get this weird like distorted view
of
Jack a lot. I loved all of those scenes with his doofy huge like extra wide-eyed glasses, because he was like a bug, and he got to like hang out with his like mirror self, this weird like praying mantis scorpion thing that crawled out the well and
had tentacles coming out of his both ends, and,
I don't know. I just really liked the way Jack looked. He was very insectoid, and like I think that was like probably a very purposeful decision.
Yeah, insider's perspective here.
Insiders, as in
I've seen
having
this kid,
seen it a few times.
And I've seen this kid in something else, and he looks like that in the other show too. He's actually one of the family members in the Netflix series Haunting of Hill House.
Okay.
Which is a fairly recent series. I mean, as of this recording.
Sure.
It came out maybe a year ago or so.
So it's just what he looks like.
Well, at least he was portrayed very similarly in that. So I imagine that his role in there, because he's very young, is probably what landed his role in this film as well.
Sure.
But yeah, he has like similar thick glasses in that one. I don't think it's exactly the same, but he looks very similar in that film as well. So
cool.
But yeah, so I don't know how conscious of a choice it was versus what the kid just
could have been a conscious,
actually just looks
as
like.
I say, it could have been a conscious casting choice.
Yes,
with that in
for
mind,
sure.
You know,
yeah,
because I think it's probably not a good idea to have someone who can see have to act through lenses like that, right?
Yeah,
and like, you know, actively damage their own sight for extended periods of time or whatever, or basically just have a headache after every day of shooting.
Yeah.
At the very least, sounds pretty miserable. So
especially for a little kid. Like,
right. So it makes a lot of sense that they just are corrective lenses for the little guy.
Right.
But yeah, no, I loved the way that they shot Jack.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he gets to be with his mom forever.
I don't know that it's forever.
Well,
there's a moment when he's not with his mom.
Yeah. Yeah. How did you feel about those scenes? The two amalgamated mass of bodies.
Well, at first I didn't know we'd get to see it, because the very first moment it occurs, I'm like, okay, they're like a fucking. I got what was happening.
Right.
Without the visuals, because we just see an arm in the shot and a foot or something in the shot.
Mm-hmm. As the dad and.
As they're looking down after,
they're coming up, walking up to him, and they're looking down at him
after the son witnesses it occur.
Yeah,
somehow maintains his sanity.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if this were a role playing, that guy landed every sand roll.
Yeah, he's crit successing.
Yeah, this is fine. It's all fine.
Yeah, it just must be the wind.
Yeah, I had way too much weed today.
Yeah, it's a lot stronger than I thought. It was. More potent. Ezra's smoking some serious shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't think we'd get to see it at first. I was like, oh, okay, it's going to be a weird, like, you know, maybe they deal with it right away, or maybe they ignore it or drag it up, and it's going to be a reveal way, way later. Basically, after all the shots we got, what I first thought was we get the shot of the hand, the silhouette from really close. We don't get to see anything. And then it cuts to like her and him wrapped in the blanket or something.
Yeah.
Locked behind a door, and then we don't get to see it. That's what I was imagining might occur.
Yeah, sure.
But then we get to see it later, or maybe. Mm-hmm. Which would have been cool.
Yeah.
Would have been kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I liked how it happened. But yeah, no, I mean, it's cool.
Very referential to The Thing.
Yeah.
Both sequences were.
Yeah, we got a dog sequence, right? Like dog monster from The Thing.
Yeah, the alpacas.
Alpaca monster.
Yeah. You never knew you wanted an alpaca monster in your life, but you got one, Joey. And it was glorious.
I think alpacas are monsters already.
Oh, come on.
I didn't say they weren't fluffy or...
They're monsters?
Yeah, they're kind of like weirdly proportioned, like
sure.
half sheep, half giraffe, half dog things. What do you mean they're not monsters?
They also make the best noises. Every moment that they were just like, there's just B-roll of alpacas
Yeah,
in that
like,
film is like,
you're like, you didn't know you needed alpacas. It's like they were comic relief at the beginning of the film, Josh.
Yeah.
Like, every time they were
Nic
shot,
Cage's comic relief too. Dude, these are alpacas. Alpacas.
The guy who's just really into alpacas.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, they're the animal of the future. Didn't you know?
It's like that's like the beginning of that movie. It's like the beginning of the movie, The Pursuit of Happiness. Have you seen that film with Will Smith?
No, actually, I have never seen.
He
that.
has like a harebrained thing where he invests like his life savings into a thing.
Oh, okay.
With the intent to sell. Stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's like same sort of mindset.
Sure. Well, I totally got where Cage's character was coming from with that.
That was just another example of a film I've seen that had a character like that.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. No, I have not seen it.
I think he's X-ray machines in that game. He buys like the next biggest
big thing,
X-ray, and then he has to go to like hospitals and convince them they need it.
Sure.
Because it's better than what they have, or it's higher fidelity, or whatever, and convince them to spend that extra money on that thing.
That movie's all about him like that failing though, right? And he's like on the streets with his kid for a long time.
It's pretty not spoiling too much. It's a emotional ride, that movie. I recommend it. It's very good.
Yeah, I've heard great things. I just never really. I don't know why I've never seen it.
It's real good.
I like sad movies, so.
Well, then you'll love this.
Oh boy.
No, it's very good. But yeah, he was very kooky because of that.
Oh,
connection he has with his fucking alpacas.
Yeah. I love the
like even the scene when she rides up the very beginning and we see this like weird menagerie of animals. It's like a llama and a wolf and like like some other shit. And I'm like, what the? What kind of animals did they keep? Why is there so many weird animals? I'm like, has the meteor already landed? Like what?
That'd be great if this movie started like years post meteor, and this is how they live now.
Yeah, I didn't know how it was gonna go, so it was just like alpacas. Sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was just saying I really enjoyed the dad role that he played in the moment when the daughter's like, "Yo, this weird guy I met by the river," and and he's like, "All right, go in the house," and he's like, "All right, I'm gonna get this guy to leave."
Yeah,
he's like, "We're gonna milk the alpacas."
I didn't even think about it in that context. I just full committed in my brain that he was fucking crazy. And it was just like that was like just a normal thing for him to do, and he was just like, "Here, drink some alpaca milk."
I mean, I think that's certainly part of it.
Yeah.
But I also feel like he was, I gotta wait for this guy to get lost. Yeah. We milk alpacas here. Like taking a cue from his kids saying, "You shouldn't have bought these. That's weird, Dad." He's like, "All right, well, if they think it's weird, other people think it's weird. This guy will. Let's go milk some, get him to leave."
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was silly. There definitely was a lot more comedy in this movie than I thought there was going to be.
Yeah, this whole thing kind of just swings for the fences,
Sure.
In almost every regard. And I loved it. So
I think there is an interesting choice that they made with this adaptation too, to lean away from the parts of, and I've mentioned it at least in the past about some of Lovecraft's work, or at least literature of the time. I guess Moby Dick is a better example than some of Lovecraft's work, but although Lovecraft does delve into it, from what I understand, in things like Mountains of Madness and other such stories, where he spends a lot of time explaining to you really dull and like innocuous things.
I wonder if that's where you were going.
Yeah, and so in this adaptation, they spent a pretty good time just footnoting the relevant parts from that part of the story.
Yeah.
And just moving on to what they maybe considered more interesting. I.e., no scientists came out to visit.
Yeah.
There was only 2 visits, and they were really short. And one of which was exclusively with the intent as a funny moment to just make the dad look like a buffoon again.
Yep. Extra so.
Yeah.
Because like compared to the video he's watching and how he looks standing there watching it, it's like 2 different people. His hair's like perfectly fine standing in the living room, but like on TV it's like just wild and
and he keeps itching his head.
Yeah.
And like,
which I thought was a nice nod to what happens to him later, where he's actually of all the things in this film,
it's getting a rash and stuff. Or
yeah,
whatever.
and he's like, but
his skin is changing.
I took it as him graying, right? Because like in the original story, all this stuff grows and becomes, very fruitful, and then immediately turns gray or grays over time, and none of that happens until the very end. It becomes the blasted heath afterwards.
Yeah,
all of this happens instead of growing that way, but he slowly is graying.
Yeah,
and there's actually even moments on Lavinia where one of her areas that she carved into herself, when she takes her jacket off at the end, after Nic Cage
I saw it was
shot, it was
like
all
an older wound. It looked like than some
I
of her
think
new
it
ones.
was supposed to be that she was starting to gray as well, and
just
get like the same
what she did cut, and her skin was changing.
Yeah,
sure.
So, but anyways, going back
to what were we talking about?
The sign, like less science and description and stuff like that. And
that was basically, I mean, they weren't farmers and they still wanted to show off the fruitful growth, equating to bitter taste. And, he has that moment where he's like slam dunking.
I really love the end of that scene. Yeah, it sounds like a real good idea, honey. Just like complete 180.
So to punctuate that scene you're talking about where, he's watching himself on the news, and it breaks into a moment of comedy. I think the comedy in this movie was used as a subtle element of, or at least as a way to lull you into some idea of what's occurring, or at least trigger your brain to shift gears, whether you did or not, like consciously, because when you see breaks in movies, they're very formulaic, right? Modern comedies have punchline drama, right? Like, and it's to break up the true sadness of the the first 66% of the rom-com being like a kind of a tragedy about the loss of a love, and then eventually they're like, oh, and it worked out, it's such a happy ending. The trumpets, they blare. That happens in rom-coms, right?
I think so.
There's trumpets?
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't
cool.
know.
I just wanted to make sure. You're the movie guy, so I wanted to make sure that I was...
so few rom-coms. I could count on one hand.
I probably watched more rom-coms than you have, just incidentally.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we'll start a rom-com podcast where I show you movies.
Okay, I'm down.
Set in the rom-com realm. And then we'll recontextualize them as actual, like, Lovecraftian films.
I'm willing to do at least a bonus episode like that.
You see, Sandra Bullock here represents a deep one. And
oh no.
What was I talking? Comedy. And so in that scene, we get like, isn't it funny that Dad Nic Cage is like, looking a dang fool, and he's not helping his case any better as he talks about, he points out all the things he's finding as like minutia issues, where it's just like, why didn't anybody give me a comb? I look crazy. And like, no, he's the only one commenting about how horrible whatever they're watching is, right? Yeah. And that's comedic, and he keeps going. And then kind of in like an NLP way, a neuro-linguistic programming kind of a way, he sneaks in at first until it, like, the pitch rises or whatever in the scene. He sneaks in the, honey, come in here and look at this.
Yeah.
The first like two of those are innocuous. He's just talking. He's like, we're in complete belief that he wants her to see this, to be the funny dad or whatever he's trying to be in this moment, the character, or actually like upset about the scene and just needs his wife to witness this to make sure he's not crazy. And then we hear the music rise and the pitch rise of the cuts between the carrots. And so there's this gradient effect from full comedy to full horror that you don't see in lots of horror movies. Usually they try and jar you out of normalcy into horror, just from like, this is all normal, and then like, Saving Private Ryan's first scene is that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you seen that one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he gets his freaking head blown off in the Jeep, and and then just get ready. It's a war movie. Shit's going crazy right from the first scene. And that's what normally horror, I think, lives in, and at least in my brain. I know that plenty of movies break the mold, whatever. But I've not really seen too many that use weird uncomfortable comedy like this did.
Sure.
As that antithesis to the horror that's about to occur, and then fully go for the horror.
Yeah.
Like it could have been a fake out, right?
Yeah.
Could have just been like, oh, isn't that crazy? And then Jack gets there and she breaks out of it and she's like, oh, that was crazy. And then that's like one of the moments of like almost escalation. But no, they just go full through the fingers.
Well, you're worried the whole time is like, is she just going to try and stab the kid?
Yeah.
You know, like
there's lots of
like,
unknowns.
oh my gosh, what is about to happen?
I figured she was going to cut herself. I didn't think it would be as bad as it was, one. And two, I thought there was a chance that she like just narrowly avoids it because of Jack.
Yeah.
But I did think that like maybe it's like she's just zoned out, and so when she turns around, she's going to harm Jack as well. Right.
Yeah.
That did cross my mind, but I was sort of leaning knife-related self-injury, and it occurred.
Yep.
But like I don't know, I felt like there was a couple of moments like that where they were like, isn't it so funny and comical and well whatever, and like weird serious moment where somebody's like really upset for some reason, you know, it's like kind of disproportionately upset, and that sort of stuff. And I don't know, there were a number of moments, and they slowly vanished entirely by the end when things got serious and crazy. But that was only the last like 10 to 20% of the movie was like all that crazy shit happening. Most of it was the build up, and I don't know, it's just kind of cool. That was just like I think the most prominent
moment
example of that. But I think it did occur in a lot of places. Like even at the end a little bit when we get to see Ward and the sheriff show up and Nick is out of his mind. There's a little bit of comedy in that.
For sure.
It's mostly gone though at that point, I think.
We've been having some trouble with the telephone and the Wi-Fi in the car. Life in the sticks. It's like, oh my gosh.
He's completely gone.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think the last moment of comedy is they hear Lavinia upstairs screaming. They run upstairs and he goes, "Drink? I'm having one." And like kind of walks off screen.
Yeah.
And that, I think after that, there is no more.
He has a moment that doesn't land as comedy, but he's still in character when he kills.
Yeah, and he's like, they're not my family. Yeah.
And he's like pleased about it in his tone.
Yeah. But yeah, it doesn't quite land. It is somewhat humorous if you have that sense of humor for the moment that it's taking place in. But it's not quite.
I think the humor isn't in a punchline. It's in the disparate character reactions to the moment.
Yeah.
Everyone else is fucking horrified at this creature they just saw. And then the horrifying like brutality that it was taken out with.
Yes. Yeah. I wonder, what do you think the mom creature's goal was with the daughter?
I don't know that it had one.
Okay.
I think it was just like unaware that it could be alive at all, and then it was, and then it was kind of like it felt very similar to the interaction of the horseman beast from Annihilation staring down tied up people in the home, where it was just sort of like
horse,
the bear thing.
Bear.
I'm pretty sure I called it a horse in the cast too.
Did you? I don't remember.
I just like thought that it was a horse skull.
Oh, yeah, because the skull feels more elongated than a bear skull. Yeah, okay.
I'm pretty sure we talked about that for a while.
Yeah, sorry.
But
I just
was
like, you just lost me. I was like, what horse beast?
You know the horse
beast?
What
movie did you watch?
From Annihilation 2? The horse beastening? What was I saying? Oh, it felt like it was just like probing the environment like a bat with sonar when they're tied up in that thing.
Yeah.
And in this one, it's like, look, it's the first thing to enter the room since it gained consciousness as a feral thing.
Yeah.
Or whatever. There's also like, so I do want to talk about that scene.
Okay.
Well, not just the scene, but that interaction between Lavinia and mother-son monster.
Yeah. The abomination.
So before it grows legs and moves around like a weird alpaca, it's just them fused, right?
Yep.
And it's just what's that fucking movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger and like the weird radioactive head growing out of somebody. And what is that? It's escaping me.
Not Total Recall.
Yeah.
Is it Total Recall?
Yeah. Isn't there like a weird moment?
Don't flame us, everyone at home. I'm not brushed up on I own Total Recall, but I've
only seen it like once, a long time ago.
A long time since I've seen that movie. Yeah.
It's not important.
Okay.
He's got a gross like head.
Yeah.
Growing out, or she has,
mm-hmm.
A weird malformed larger version of her son's head growing out of her back.
Yeah.
And she's immobile.
Mm-hmm.
But slowly becomes a bit more mobile than we assumed before she becomes the monster, because she's sat up drinking out of a bowl, also like a dog.
I was going to say, that scene, of all the stuff that happens in this film, and we've already watched plenty of things that are just as weird and gross and stuff, and like, none of that usually ever gets to me. For whatever reason, the mom licking out of a bowl really made me uncomfortable.
Yeah?
I don't know why that's the case.
Not the moms licking out of bowls?
I guess. I don't know. It just like, it really made me actually like sad.
Yeah. I mean,
like,
it's a sad scene for sure.
Yeah. Like the rest of it, whatever. Oh, they're fused. Like, I mean, not obviously not whatever, but like it didn't,
I know what you mean.
Didn't like, there was no gravity for me there.
Sure.
But in that moment, it's like that's when you actually feel how like pitiful this poor creature is now.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh.
Well, so that's a moment when it gains any amount of control over itself.
Mm-hmm.
It does lay back down after that.
Yes.
Because we get a nice little makeout scene with it. But some amount of time passes, which is a piece of information that's obfuscated from us. We just don't know how long she's been up there. They talk about how time has been distorted and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So who knows? But by the time they get back, it's fully in the corner, in the shadows, because it didn't like light, which we understood was the case before they even moved in, into the attic. After Nic Cage feeds his daughter to it.
Yeah, because he has your mother.
Yeah, he has dialogue that says "feed your mother," and just stuffs her in there with nothing, no food.
Yeah,
So presumably that's like the concept. Vaguely leads me to believe that he perhaps encountered the mother in that time to have the knowledge that it needs to be fed at all.
Yeah.
There was no scene that was like, this is what we need to do to take care of her now.
Right.
The only people who brought her anything were the children.
Yes. Yeah, because he was out dealing with the alpacas.
Well, because Lavinia thinks she hears her mother ask her for a drink.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you need water. And she didn't really say anything.
No.
She just made more gargly noises, as you do as a horrifying alpaca monster or whatever that is. They're all alpaca monsters now, by the way.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the alpaca monster was the first monster. So they're all iterative.
Oh, okay.
And therefore the rest are alpacas now.
Sure.
That's probably what happened, right? It wasn't that like, matter was insignificant to this color. It was that like once the alpaca, like, because the alpacas were clearly created by the devil. As we've discussed, they're already abominations. And so once you mixed in alpaca material into your weird concoction, that's when like, the devil entered into it.
Sure. Okay.
And it became antagonistic. Oh, I can't even take myself serious. Yeah, because Nic Cage doesn't become a total asshole till he gets sprayed with alpaca blood after he shoots it. So there's theory. There's look up the alpaca theory. I'll be posting about it under an anonymous Reddit username later. I won't be doing that. That's a lot of work. Let's just let the record show that I brought it up, just in case someone else does.
Yeah.
I've gone and distracted myself now. Oh, so it some amount of time passes. It gains legs made of bones, I don't know, or reorganizing the bones inside of that whole structure to gain these crazy like spider leg things.
Yeah.
I guess they're more like giraffe legs.
Who knows, man?
Because they had like knobbly joints.
Yeah,
and drafts look like that. Anyways, it clambers over.
It was clearly all the legs that the alpacas had before, because when we see the alpaca monster, it has no legs.
Yeah,
it's
it was just like a
heads.
pancake. Yeah, it was flat on the ground.
Yeah, so the color was it transferred leg bits.
It just fired legs into them both, like giant missiles.
Yeah, it was a rail gun of alpaca legs.
Of alpaca legs.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ. So we get some incubation time, unknown incubation time. Daughter gets chucked in there. It immediately approaches her, basically.
Mm-hmm.
She's screaming there for a little bit, but for the most part, it's like, well, look at this screaming thing. I better approach it and look at it. And then we don't get to hang out in the room with them.
No.
For a while.
Yeah.
On our end.
Right.
On their end, I don't know. But it was a while that I was just like, she's just dead. And we're going to find her like a part of it.
Yeah.
When we go see it now. Because a lot of time had passed. I'm like, there's no way Ward is going to be there in time. Because he was like, the video.
Yeah.
Because this scene is pre Wi-Fi living in the sticks. Completely lost at Nic Cage. Serving up his wife a bottle of brandy or whatever. His ghost wife, his non-existent wife on the couch.
I put your favorite movie on.
So they go up there, break the door down, and it's just like hovering over Lavinia, drooling on her, basically.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what to take out of that scene, right? Because clearly they spent some time together.
Yeah.
Pretty reasonable amount of time to be murdered by a horrifying monster.
Yeah.
And turn out not to be murdered. I thought there was going to be a weird makeout scene again for a moment.
I was worried that maybe it would go so far as like assault of a like certain
of the alien style.
Yeah, of a certain nature. Yeah, and I was like, oh man, is this where this movie's headed? Like, I don't know that I'm ready for that.
Yeah.
You know, and
it didn't. So
because you're right. Well, that we know of, I suppose that maybe that's supposed to be some sort of ambiguous allusion.
The mother does make that comment before that upsets Lavinia about the way she was dressed.
And she's crying like, "Stop it, mommy."
Yeah.
That once or twice in that scene, and I'm like, "Stop what?" Like, it's all it's doing is
face.
Yeah, but we don't know what's happening, so that's. Unfortunately, that's where my brain went, and I was just hopeful that that's not what was going on, but we don't know.
Yeah, it's unclear what occurred. It does not appear that is what occurred.
No,
because she's basically fine.
Yeah, she's and still fully clothed, and
right.
You know, so
for all intents and purposes, and it's just a alpaca monster. It's just mindless, feral, like limbed thing with the face of their mother.
I'm wondering if maybe it was attempting to absorb her as well.
Perhaps. I mean, it was like gooping all over her. Like,
exactly.
Yeah. And it what it looks like, but who knows?
The first time it gets over her, it like leans in real close, like touches faces basically to one side. And then the next time we see her, it's more hovering away, like, but over her still. And so.
Well, it also, it felt once again like the original interaction with the light that Ward has in the forest, where it was curious more than aggressive.
Sure.
It just. To the outside viewer appears aggressive because it's like wailing.
Yeah.
But maybe it's just in pain. And
right.
Like it's a horrifying pain monster.
Yeah, it doesn't understand what is even happening to it at the moment still. And
it was like at those stages where the mother alpaca monster's lapping water out of a bowl is like where we get to see it slowly stop being the mother. Like consciously and start to devolve to
just base animal instinct. And,
exactly. And that's why it was perched like a dog when it was drinking and drinking like a dog.
Yeah.
I don't know how it was drinking because dogs' tongues
they scoop it.
Designed for that.
Yep.
And
ours are not.
Ours are just, she was just wetting her tongue.
Yes, basically. Yeah.
Anyways, that's not really relevant. I just thought I'd say that. So yeah, I sort of interpreted the beast to be just sort of like birthed more than just in a horrifying way, as opposed to it being like aggressive.
Like the baby monster from the void.
Yeah, just like it.
Maybe it was an alpaca monster too.
You know what I actually thought was going to occur? Like that whole sequence there when Ward and the sheriff show up, and we do get another nod to the original text where the father is talking to a family that isn't there.
Yes. Yeah.
And things like that. And he's officially lost it, as he does in the text.
Yep.
I thought it would be very similar, that we go up, see the abomination, get trapped on the stairs, have a moment.
Yeah.
But it didn't end up being that way.
Right.
And like Nic Cage can teleport now.
He got up those stairs so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like the last time we see it, they have run along at that point to go be horrified.
And he walks in the opposite direction to go get another drink. That's the last.
He looks like he's going to sit down.
Yeah.
Next to where his drink is. So I'm assuming like, we're led to believe he goes to sit. And then he's just got the gun and he's in the room ahead of both of them. Like,
well, I mean, they go into the room first. Oh, you just mean at the end of the scene, he's standing in front of where they
ahead
are.
of them. Yeah. Because they back into the wall, like freaked out. And like the time that you like slowly grasp what's occurring and he's there is like not enough time.
Yeah.
Has elapsed. So it's just unclear how that occurred. But it is pretty crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as the mother amalgamation, I don't have lots more than maybe that to maybe gather from the way that it seemed to operate.
After we've done this for even several more episodes on other movies that have weird body horror stuff in it, we should rank favorite body horror moments in things that we've reacted to.
We'll have to do like an anniversary episode, like a milestone number, and then just supplant it with a weird top 10 horrifying moments.
That'd be great. Maybe that'll be a YouTube video on this channel or something.
There you go. You know what I'd rather do? I'd rather generalize it to practical effects.
Sure.
That way we can include like some things that maybe aren't body horror.
Yeah.
That are just really cool. Because I'm sure we'll see lots of that.
Oh yeah. Have seen already. So
anything you want to say about these horror monsters you've seen 3 times?
I just really enjoyed the homage to The Thing with the alpaca monster stuff and the split face kind of almost with the mom and son. And
that was also really close to how the bear monster was.
Yes.
In Annihilation too, where the human skull
is on the one side of the bear skull. Yeah,
like,
for sure, sharing an eye
the
socket.
Sun, Jack's head.
Yeah.
Speaking of The Thing and how it relates to this movie in terms of visual cues or just overall vibe or whatever, or just the fact that it has body horror, I actually felt in a non-body horror element that there was a weird visual tie to it.
Okay.
In the form of the branches that take the sheriff.
Okay.
I didn't think it was branches when I first saw it until we see him in the tree being just impaled by branches.
Oh.
It looked like a centipede.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
A lot like a centipede.
Yeah.
Because it had like, I can't make I don't know why I tried to make the shape with my hands. But it had a way to grab
branches
it
on both sides,
like legs,
and
a branch from which those
were growing on either side.
From
a center. Yeah,
but it came down.
Yeah,
like a fucking centipede.
Yeah,
or a millipede, or insert any peds.
Yeah, kind of unraveled itself, grabbed him, and then like rolled back up into the tree.
And the leading branches in that sequence looked like pincers.
Sure, yeah.
Because they didn't grab him.
Yeah.
At all. They were just at the lead of that shape that came out of the trees. And I was like, fuck this. Like, when I saw it, I was like, there's going to be a giant fuck off bug that Ward has to battle now since this story is off the rails and I can't predict like what changes have been made. And so I thought it was going to be some crazy fucking bug monster.
That's great. As well, especially since we got the overgrown bug.
We already got like
earlier.
Yeah, and we got a horrifying cat image, and so like wildlife has been changed differently than it was in the story to something more scary.
Yep.
But the reason that is tied to the thing is because there's lots of centipede imagery in the way that like the heads walk around in the thing, and like
just creepy crawlies.
There was a lot more bug imagery in the thing's body horror than in this one. Yeah. Aside from obviously the direct ties to the dog cage scene being pretty much 1-to-1 for the most part.
I was gonna say the pan of a flashlight over the alpaca stuff with the two brothers at first is just how they discovered the dog monster in the original. Yeah.
This one had far fewer lapping and flapping tentacles attached to it. Yes. In that it had none.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah, I have to say this movie loses points because there's just no tentacles.
The moth had tentacles, and the weird hellscape we get to see had more tentacles than the entire movie. The Thing.
All right, you're right.
It was a planet of tentacles.
All points restored.
In fact, in the 3 viewings of this movie you've seen, the total tentacles you've seen in this film outrank the total
films I've seen.
No, the total times you've seen The Thing. If you added the tentacles together, it still doesn't match up. There's still not enough tentacles in The Thing. Having seen it 69 times or however many times you've seen
it. You're right. That is true.
That's funny.
Yeah, I hope we get to go back in the future Lovecraftian universe movies that Richerd Stanley produces for us.
Hope we get to go back
to that planet.
Oh,
or dimension or plane of existence or whatever. I want
to the
more.
Dreamlands.
Yeah, I want more. Give me more. Heck yeah,
it'd be cool. The plane of pure chaos.
Yeah. Other than that, I like the alpaca monster quite a bit. That was a good, because I thought after we got this a little bit, with the brothers, that it was done
with the brothers.
Like when they walk in. Right before
the alpaca monster?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Like we see them changing still, basically. They're kind of like melting or whatever, forming into this new beast. And
I don't know that we get to see them changing. I think that's just what they are now. Because that's how we find them again later.
Right. But I'm saying there's like zoom-ins on like the veins like spreading with the color and stuff like that. I guess I feel like it was still like maybe late metamorphosis, but still metamorphosis,
I just sort of took all those shots as like the equivalent of it feeding. That it was just present in the thing whilst they were looking at it in horror.
Okay.
More than like it touched you, it goes, fucks off, does whatever it wants, and while you're there, you're like still observing symptoms of the interaction.
Yeah.
It's I didn't really take it like that. I took it more of like, it had the capacity to be quite ever present when it wanted to be.
Yeah.
And in those moments where we see it in the thing, it's there.
Sure. Well, I think it's absolutely there because it reaches out and then melds the mom and son together.
Right.
So
I'm just saying, even in the other ones, when we see it writhing in Ezra's head, it's clearly there and it explodes out of him. And
yeah.
Because we get lots of views of skin that's turning purple by the end of this film, and but that's kind of how I took that.
Sure.
More so than like that's the reason that it's metamorphosizing the way that it is, and that when it's done, it's.
I just read that moment when the two brothers discover them that it wasn't still even fully melded yet.
Sure. It just didn't change.
Well,
that much between it getting murdered.
Yeah.
And that scene.
Sure. Anyways, I like it. That's all I really wanted to say was that I enjoyed the little, like the I enjoyed that we got to go back to it.
Yeah.
It was where I was originally headed. I thought it was done. We only got to see those weird, like, kind of illusion glimpses of this horrifying thing, and then they escape, and then the mom and son is now the main focus.
Yeah.
But then it's like, oh, there's something going on with the alpacas, and we go in and we get to see the full scope of it.
And we get to watch that full scope get exploded.
Yeah. By a really crazy Nic Cage at that moment.
He goes for a while.
Yes, he does. A couple times. He does it in the car, too.
No, I mean, like, that's... So, like, he becomes horrified from that murder of his alpacas. Mm-hmm. One.
Yeah.
They're his alpacas.
Yeah.
He loves them more than his children. And two, the reason that's kind of an insane scene, more than obviously the ultra violence of it, is the time it takes to reload a double-barreled shotgun.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
It's just adding to the horror that he has to live within while he just goes ahead and fires 6 to 8 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane to me.
Yeah. Yeah, because, like, obviously not killing it after the first 2. You have to listen to the rest of those heads screaming at you.
Yeah.
Crazy eldritch alpaca screams.
Eldritch alpaca.
Yeah.
That's the name of my new solo album.
I was just going to say, that should be my new social media handle.
Eldritch alpaca.
Yeah.
There you go. That's what the eldritch thing has been this whole time.
Yes.
An alpaca.
An alpaca. Oh, man.
And it's just a normal alpaca.
Now I got a new logo.
It's just a normal alpaca. It's not, Just turns out that they are eldritch.
I gotta draw that. I can't wait. Guys, wait for shirts. That's our 3rd shirt. Okay.
Let's slow down on the shirts. We gotta actually make one of them.
I know.
Don't worry, we got 16 shirts coming down the pipeline.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna have our own apparel line by the time we're done with this.
No, if we do anything alpaca, we have to make a line of alpaca merch, not just a singular alpaca thing. We gotta have, like, the alpaca kerchief.
Yes.
It has like an alpaca pattern.
An eldritch alpaca pattern.
Right, exactly, yeah. And the pattern isn't that there's like a repeating alpaca head, it's that they're all connected by a tendril.
Yes, yeah. Oh, that'd be great.
There you go. Oh, God. Just coming up with merch ideas on
I want like a bad like Bahamas tee, like button up, short sleeve button up.
Yeah.
But it's that pattern just all over it.
That's so silly.
I know.
No, see, what you got to do is you got to have like the subtle fashion, right? So you get a blazer, but it's just the lining that has it's horrifying
bright. It's
alpaca
like a bright
monster.
Pink lining with purple tendril alpacas on the inside.
Yeah. But to the layman, appears to
just
be
like
just
a pattern,
a dark blazer.
Mm-hmm. I'm all for this, man.
I know. I have to really watch my words around.
I was going to say, well, I'll quit all other projects except this and working on that apparel line.
I come back to your place and you've got like clothing patterns cut out of like thick cardstock. You're like, it's happening, Joey. It's happening. And like you're just knelt on the ground. Your furniture's been overturned and pushed to the walls, and you're surrounded by papers, five very, very strategically placed clothing patterns. And you've got candles lit and fucking chalk circles and shit. I see the seams, Joey. I see the seams. I gotta go, Josh.
Yeah. You don't want to go out there. What's out there is in here. What's in here is out there.
Under the floorboards, man.
I knew people wouldn't believe me unless I got it on Memorex.
What a great little moment. Yeah. To archive in your brain for things you're gonna conjure up from your movie quote cacophony.
Yeah.
Your movie quote well of madness. You just fucking dig your arm in shoulder deep and pull out who knows what.
I just live below the well now.
Yeah. Well, you're on the wrong side of the river.
So what we haven't talked about yet is
the color itself.
Yeah, and how it behaves in this versus like Defarba and the story itself.
It's very different, yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously leading up to the main crazy moment that happens in all 3 stories.
Sure.
So, but How did you feel about the portrayal?
I was gonna ask you that because you talked about the that the tent scene being ominous for hunter-prey relationship of a being that you'd personally rather be, ambivalent towards humans and stuff, and just sort of like, the idea of the quintessential Lovecraft monster is that it doesn't give a fuck about humans and just does its thing.
Yeah,
and then in the face of it, we're maddened, right?
Yeah, and there's just side effects by having any contact with it.
Yeah, and this is not that. It's like, to some extent, hunting people and like clearly taking in.
Yeah, or at least has interest, right?
Yeah, and even in the text, when we didn't really touch on it in the cast, I don't remember. Possibly you'll find out when that episode drops very soon. But I don't remember if we touched on the idea that, like, because we talk about it feeding, right? There's mention in the text that like the blasted heath grows every year.
Yeah,
and it's still there. Is like the worry, and that might be a rumor, and it might be actual fact.
Yeah, it grows a little bit each year.
And we get the eyewitness testimony that something fell back into the well after the crazy thing.
Yeah. There's a belief that it's still there, even after the reservoir fills.
Yeah, that it's still below the water, and that's the whole thing. We don't get that in this one.
No.
And there was some element of it, because even in Die Farb, it leaves, right? And we talk about it, how there are like particles of it that don't
follow it,
that don't escape Earth's gravity,
in
some way or another, whether it's in orbit or falling back down. And so there's some sort of non-Lovecraftian story that those pieces maybe kind of come together to be, where it is an alien of some otherworldly power and entity that we can't fathom, and that it's consuming life around it to be able to leave again as fuel.
Sure, yeah.
And that's its only goal, is that it shows up, it absorbs what it needs because it didn't intend on stopping here.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And then from that gain, the power gain of emotion and insanity and flesh and wildlife that all three of the stories manifest, and it's able to gain whatever energy it would have needed to leave again.
Yep.
And that feels better here than the other two.
I agree. Yeah.
And Die Farb, I guess, is a close second, but mostly only because it goes to space in that film.
Right.
But whether it could have at any time is, who knows. But yeah, I don't know. Is something curious about how it did represent a hunter more in this adaptation, actively left at a certain point of a culmination of crazy shit going on. Yeah. And simultaneously running out of fuel sources, right? Like all these people were fucking sucked dry at that point. And in some cases, not there maybe. Because we get a shot of the whole family sitting around the couch. Yeah. That Ward sees. Yeah. Maybe. To be fair, he has this weird effect all over his body. It's like warping and stretching him as he moves, which was very cool. Yeah. We'll talk about that in a sec, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. It's curious. It definitely had a more singular presence at most times. It didn't feel like, there was one moment in one shot where it felt like it was the forest. And it's this shot of Ward with the shotgun. Yeah. Coming back out of the forest.
You can see it glowing up all the wildlife
and they're all
and everything
swaying
around there. Yeah.
All the trees are moving toward him. Yeah. They weren't just like, they just weren't as aggressive as the centipede tree branch monster. Yeah. But in all other instances, we get it as a physical singular entity in a place doing a thing. So that felt very different, I think. Yeah. Because in Die Farb, we get it coalescing to do things, but can be found everywhere. It's in the dew on on the grass and it's
Mm-hmm.
in the trees, as you say.
Yeah.
And then when it does something big, it comes together to do that big thing. But it's not all of it, because we get to see all of it later in that film. So it's just some small portion of it acting on an impulse that it maybe has, or whatever the reason is. I don't know. Do you dislike that?
No, not at all. I think, it feels very different, but I think in the context of this film and a lot of the changes that were made, it works really well. I had no problem with it. I
just know that generally, you often are of the opinion that you'd rather them be more cosmic than horror.
Sure. I mean, I love both.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah. For the listeners at home, Joey.
If you've listened to us before, you'll know that too.
Yeah. Disclaimer. I enjoy, I think, the version where it's just a presence and fairly ambivalent the most in the original text. And I really like it being what it is in this film.
Oh, you just mean in the context of the original text?
Yeah.
It makes,
it
fits well and makes sense to you.
Yeah. And I like both equally, I think.
Okay, cool.
I think maybe one thing about this rendition that I don't know if I like a lot is, and it's really funny to say this because I love tentacles, but is how it was very, like, it came out in tendrils a lot.
Yeah, when it attacked the mother and the son, and when it's coming out of the well before Nic Cage gets shot. And
yeah, because I loved the end. Where it's
the vortex.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Really, really enjoyed that visual rendition of it.
It looked like a closer extended version of True Detective scene.
Yeah.
But a different color.
Mm-hmm. And but yeah, it almost, because it felt like almost like electricity.
Yeah.
In a way, and I don't.
Well, I don't know if you noticed it. I'm sure you did, since you've seen it 3 times. In that scene, when we get a look at the way that the clouds and the stars are in the sky, and it's another nod to the text, I think, and the way that it appeared above, and that it inverted the whole to be a hole into clouds, but that everything around it was space that we hadn't been seeing before in the sky.
Right.
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
Around it, there was like a tornado. You think of things that aren't directly at the wall of the eye of the tornado, being what you can visually see as the body of the tornado. You see like those extra satellites that are moving quite quickly, but around the base. There was a lot of I felt like a stylistic choice on how to make that look that they took that wasn't tornado. But it held that placeholder. And instead of it being like things were physically spinning, it looked like television static. I don't know if you caught that, because you were talking about electricity.
Sure.
But there were these huge rice shaped blots that would just bloop, 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 bloop,
yes
bloop, bloop, bloop,
yes
and just pop in and out of existence, kind of reminiscent of the way a tornado would spin, but didn't actually inform motion,
right?
So it didn't appear that it was moving like that. It just was this haze we got to sort of see, but it physically be like rendered in the CG work around it, instead of it being like a filter over the shot or something like that, like a flat thing.
Yeah, I do know what you're talking about. Yeah. That's interesting.
It reminded me of all the shots that we get to see of the TV.
The TV, sure. I guess I didn't, in that moment particularly, I didn't register it as mimicking the TV static in the other shots. But
I don't think it was 1-to-1 like what weird imagery we do get to see in this TV static, but it just reminded me of TV static as a concept.
Sure,
it was a prevalent,
I didn't pick up
reoccurring
on that.
Thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, but next time you watch it, which I'm sure will be a number of times,
keep
an eye out for that.
You don't know me.
But no, that scene was sweet.
Oh, it was awesome.
But I said we'd get back to it. The warping effect that Ward visually has.
Yeah.
I think it was a nod to harken back to the conversation of black holes.
Sure.
Just because they're like, okay, so time and what were the two things that the
matter,
time and matter,
are
things it controls, or but I don't remember that it
changes.
Is what the older Benny. Someday I'll know names about things. It's what he was saying to his sister.
Lavinia.
I wanted to say Liliana, which is just a part of my brain I need to hurry up and bury.
What magic?
Yeah, magic.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But that's what black holes do. Was also mentioned like in the same conversation where they bring it up.
Yep.
It's like kind of like a black hole, and then we get like black hole matter stretching imagery. I don't remember if it's actually the scientifically accepted term, but a lot of people refer to that moment of when things enter, the effect of a black hole. There's a certain point when any matter that would enter becomes spaghettified.
Oh,
it's like called spaghettiification by a lot of people.
Yeah.
And like you're actually stretched as atoms.
Yeah.
Just in a line. And the ratio at which you're stretched in visual distance is like it's not something you can visually perceive based on how time is being bent. Like, because from your perspective, it looks a lot different than from
me watching
an outside observer. Because like for you watching yourself infinitely slowly be stretched out or something like, and then, but the outside observer watches you just vanish. Yeah. And things like that.
Sure.
And so I thought it was a fun little like visual nod to like, cause they even shot that scene in slow motion and he was moving slower and and he had that like after image thing going on, which was really cool.
Yeah.
I was very impressed. I mean, obviously I'm impressed by most CG things cause I can't do it, but by the fact that the motion blur was only on him, and the camera is a handheld at certain points in that scene, or at least crane operated or whatever. It's moving, and so there's tons of moving objects in the scene because the camera's moving. Yeah, and he's the only one who has like the smear effect. Yeah, just went into Photoshop with every frame of that movie and just smear tooled him.
Yeah, it was really cool.
It was
really cool. We were talking about changing things and stuff.
Changing things and stuff.
How it changes things around it.
Oh.
And Ezra's comment in his messed up recording saying it shapes what it knows. I just thought that line brings back that, or relates to that as well. So.
I mean, it gives credence to why mom's son alpaca acted like a dog. It doesn't really matter where the dog is. Yeah, it's clearly been consumed by the thing in some form, whether it's at the bottom of the well, in the alpaca amalgamation, or actually like there at the moment when they were all fused and just wasn't apparent. Yeah. It's like the same as like the bear monster arc once again, where it cries out.
Yeah, help me. Yeah.
And just a form that it knows.
Yeah. But that was it.
This time from the well.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Images in the TV static.
Right. So there's a couple of things that, like pattern-wise, that I saw, picked up on. One looks like weird glaciers that reminded me of the ice that he... Like there's like these mounds in the back that just reminded me of glaciers. And there was like two. And I don't think they were perfect. It felt like we were seeing a weird scene and one of them was like further. So I don't know what that is. Because it also doesn't line up with the weird shots of the dream world we get.
Yeah.
Like there's no one frame that's like perfect to the static image. I'm sure there's like television things that cut in and out that are probably close. But the one that I thought might relate is we get the zoomed in shot of the static at some point where the camera slow pans into a really tight portion of that in the very center of the screen. which was also, quick note, why do they have tube TVs?
Right.
Got freaking AirPods and
Yeah,
iPhones and shit, but they've got tube televisions.
Well, but I guess there were tube televisions that were of that aspect ratio, but they looked like flat screens. They just had static, which was...
Well, that's the thing. Static is the thing that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's just kind of... Anyways,
Yep.
It's not important to what I was saying. I just sort of thought about that right there in that moment. I was like, it's weird.
Yep. It sure was.
Not a big deal, but the final zoomed in portion, I made out an X.
Yes, I did too.
A dark X. And that reminded me, in hindsight, not at the time because we didn't get it at the time, of the symbol she's carved into her forehead that we get to zoom in on later.
Mm-hmm.
Where that rune crosses itself.
Yes. Yeah.
That is it.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know how that directly relates, because we get that moment, right? We get to go into her eyes and see the freaking thing light up on her forehead in purple. And then we get the weird otherworldly dream world shot. And then that shot ends in a vague estimation
of the rune.
The rune. And so we also got that with the television. I think maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had other thoughts about that.
I wish I knew what that rune was, because it does represent something and I just can't remember what it is. Because it's also used, if I remember correctly.
There can't be that many Nordic runes, right?
I don't think there are, but it's also used in... I just remember reading about what it does represent, because it's also used somewhere in the movie Midsummer, which we will probably watch for this as well.
It's a cult one, right?
Yeah. And I remember reading what it meant in that, but it's been a little while since
it's all good.
I don't remember. So, let us know.
What was the staticky scene, screen-related thing that you were talking about that we do get later? Was it the computer?
It's maybe,
because we get like a spheroid planet-shaped thing.
We do
in the computer.
Yeah, and I think it's in the computer. I think that's the planet thing that we see behind the tower in the Dreamland scape.
Okay.
And in that the computer's
the burned
screen,
image.
Yeah, there is a brief frame or two of that tower.
Oh, okay.
Like the arced spire.
Sure.
Cool.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah. I was looking for it more this time.
Yeah, I was kind of fixated on the circular shape.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's all I was going to bring up, was that we do get a frame or two somewhere in one of the static scenes of the spire. So
that one's not a static scene as much as it's like a flash scene where it's flashing other images at different times.
Yeah.
I was mostly talking about the actual static imagery.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I picked up on the X too. And
cool.
I was trying real hard to discern what the other images were this time around, and I just couldn't make it out, and I don't know that we're necessarily meant to, but
sure.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts, since we're talking about trilogies with the portent that these things care about each other or exist within the same world at the very least? Do you have any preconceived notions about the importance of the compass? It's in the first and last scene.
It is, and you really can't even see it doing much.
Yeah, it's very small.
Yeah,
it has a string holding it together, kind of like a sundial.
I thought of a sundial as well, and you get the vague
there's markings around it.
Yes, I was gonna say you get the vague understanding that there's some kind of markings, or like maybe astrological, or some kind of almost map around the outside of it, and yeah, it's the last thing he grabs when he comes out of the rubble.
Yeah, when he's giving his final read of the original text, he looks at it as if it was a pocket watch.
Right. Yeah.
Like he forgot which way north was for a second.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of feels like Pirates of the Caribbean style.
Yeah. Does more than what a compass does.
Pointing to a different thing than north or whatever. Or it's tuned now because it went through
this experience. Yeah. Ritual. Who knows what.
Not sure I love that theory, but it seemed an important element of things going on.
I agree. Yeah, I feel like I was wondering if we'd see Ward again in future installments of
that's
this
what I was
universe.
thinking, yeah.
Especially now, it looks pretty hardened and.
Yeah. Oh, I did want to mention that he reminded me of, Stephen King wrote the series, The Dark Tower. He reminded me of the film adaptation of The Dark Tower and the way that Idris Elba looks in that film.
Oh, sure.
With like the fucking coat.
Mm-hmm.
He had like a thing on his coat. What did you recognize? What was on the breast of his jacket?
Mm-mm.
I thought it was like it appeared like it wasn't like just a patch or I don't know. It seemed like a physical thing that was on him.
Okay.
I couldn't make it out. It was too quick. But it looked as if he had like, and this was just my brain after witnessing what I had witnessed.
Yeah.
Probably. But it looked like he had like a weird giant like pus orb growing out of his fucking chest.
Oh.
Like it was bulbous looking, basically. Okay. Is what I mean.
Huh.
And I don't know I'm sure that's not what was going on.
Yeah.
But I just don't know what I was looking at when I
sure.
saw it. But yeah, no, I got like huge vibes of that, like, you know, like duster.
Yeah.
Hardened.
Mm-hmm.
He's got gray in his beard now. And like,
yeah.
Because he's clearly in that shot. Also, we could talk about maybe. That's a lot longer. A lot of time has passed.
Yes.
The entire thing is full of water. He's actually grayed a little bit. And he looks older.
Yeah.
Just generally. He's dirty now.
Mm-hmm.
Dirty boy. So it's curious.
Yeah.
I think it's like, at the very least, he'll be around, if not an important element of some of the other ones, I imagine.
Yeah.
Be my prediction.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I thought all the same things. So, yeah, and I do feel like the compass is going to have some kind of significance.
Sure.
So,
this is like way too late, but like the order that my brain like talked about, like I can't provide a trigger warning. There is a trigger warning for this film about cutting.
Yes.
They don't just touch on the subject, they visualize it. They show it very graphically.
Yes.
Because I wanted to come back to that.
Oh, sure.
Scene to just talk about it really quick, because between the two scenes of the mother lapping like a dog in that scene,
that one.
Oh God. Let me just punch the mic real quick. I'm sorry. That one is the scene that made me
really uncomfortable. Okay.
Because it was like, and because I assumed what was going to occur was actually that she was going to be dead.
I thought so too the first time I saw it. Yes. That
she wasn't going to walk out.
Yeah.
Carved up.
Yeah.
With runes and writing and stuff. Because she was very deep.
Oh yeah.
Right. Like.
She's using a utility knife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a utility knife clicked to its first position.
Yeah.
Is like an inch of knife. And now she's like delicately carving words into her hands later scene. And I'm like, there's like.
Yeah.
She doesn't walk away from how much self-mutilation occurs in that scene.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, that was it. I just wanted to touch on the graphic part of that scene. And
no, that's good to call out.
Lots of, there also just wasn't very much blood that falls like to her books and stuff. Like we get those
like the
little
scene droplets and
yeah,
just
a couple,
which is
just a little bit.
Yeah,
maybe she was just out of blood.
Yeah,
already. The beast
it's all
took
color
it all.
now.
Yeah, the color took it, sucked it out with a straw like a Capri Sun. You're welcome to edit that sound out too,
like the old Tropicana commercials when they stick the straw in the orange and just drink straight out of the orange.
They still do that.
I know. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was like their logo
I just envisioning
forever.
like the bad CG one, like from the 90s.
Don't remember it very vividly, but I can picture it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the era when they were like making claymation.
Yeah.
For like fruit and edible things, like visually made out of clay. And I'm just like, I don't know if that's appetizing. It's a weird decision.
Yeah.
let's eat this ball of clay that looks like an orange, but you could tell it's clay. Any other final thoughts?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, it was cool. I like the color purple, so you had me at hello.
Oh yeah, I love the. I'm glad that visually it's just a very pretty color palette, very arresting, in every scene that it shows up in. But it's also to note that like pink, like of that like neon pink, is not a natural occurring phenomenon.
I mean, lots of colors aren't naturally occurring.
Right.
Though.
I'm just saying. So like, I'm glad that he went with a color that feels unnatural.
Okay, indigo.
Yeah. I love indigo.
I know
it's my favorite.
Well, it is curious that they do lean purple in the light spectrum, because the other option is, crazy saturated red.
Yeah.
Right. The other ends of the visual thing. Oh, actually. That's curious. So, here's my science brain kicking in. Weird facts. But so, we're talking about the color spectrum and it represents to us, the pink, the purple in both the two movies we just watched, Die Farb and this one. And that apparently feels a very natural step to take for a color outside of what we can see, because some people physically just cannot see purple.
Yeah.
Some people are like, I don't know that I would consider that color blindness, but maybe there is like an actual color blindness term for people who just can't see that upper part. Certain purples are just out of their own personal spectrum.
Yeah.
And then the bottom of that is red, and that's why we have terms like ultraviolet and it would help if I knew Latin in this moment right now, because I've forgotten the term for like how thermal cameras see. Infrared. Yeah. Infra means below. And
sure.
Means
I was
above.
Like, where's the Latin coming from? But yes, I get it.
Yeah.
Yes.
The root. So infrared and ultraviolet are your two choices when you're saying humans can't comprehend the color. What do we show them?
Yeah.
And that's not really how color works or eyes work at all. That's fine. That's easy suspension of disbelief. But on the same train of thought, we talked about how one of the only representations of tentacles that existed was from our praying mantis fellow. Weird scorpion man.
Yeah.
But there's another thing that resembles that's related to color, which is the mantis shrimp.
Oh, sure.
Same body structure.
Yeah.
Different eyes.
Yeah.
That's okay. This had different eyes than the mantis. It had three. I don't actually know like the super fine details about how mantises see, but the mantis shrimp can see more colors than we can.
Yeah.
By like fourfold, like 4 times more colors than we can.
Yeah.
And so that, I don't know if that's a point they're touching on at all.
Maybe.
But it is curious.
Yeah.
This weird flying mantis shrimp, which is horrifying. Because swimming mantis shrimps are horrifying.
Yeah.
Boil water with their punches. These guys are cool. That's it. That was just something I realized just now. Didn't really put it together.
That is really cool. Yeah. I'd forgotten.
But the mantis shrimp's eye stalks are really, really cool looking. Very fascinating how they work.
Go look up mantis shrimp.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've probably heard of them. They're reasonably popular because of those weird facts that they have. Thanks for listening. Go watch this movie if for some reason you made it this far and haven't. Hopefully we sounded excited enough to convince you.
Yeah.
But thanks for hanging out for a longer episode. This is up there with our longer ones.
Yeah. Yep. Almost 2.5 hours at this point.
Yeah. I mean, some of that edits down. We
but
had like a long intro that's gonna get cut out.
Yeah, that's true.
So it'll probably be closer to 2 hours and change.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still long. It's a long time. for a podcast even. So thanks.
Yeah. This was a wild ride. I really enjoyed it. So
yeah. Thanks for listening as always. If you want to hear about what we're doing when we're doing it, we have a number of ways for you to observe that information. We've got a Twitter.
Yep.
At The Void Stairs.
Yes.
Where we'll post stuff we're feeling, episodes we're doing.
Yep.
You know, just general life advice. I don't know. I don't think we've done that yet. But
No,
maybe we'll shift gears into that.
Maybe.
Mantis shrimp related life advice.
Yeah.
From the alpaca boys themselves. We also have a website, thevoidstairsback.com, where everything we do will be aggregated.
Yes.
Collected. In tomes.
Archaic, mythic tomes.
Yes. Digital tomes.
For your convenience.
The gigabits of information in our library.
What else we do? We have a YouTube channel as well, where this is maybe where you're absorbing this episode.
Sure.
But if it is not, you can head on over there. And we do stuff besides just the podcast, where we have currently a running Let's Play series. At the moment of this recording, I am still fumbling my way through the video game Darkest Dungeon.
I mean, it'll be true of the release as well.
Yes. That is, yeah. These
last two have like a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
Our normal turnaround. So,
yeah.
He'll still be in the thick of it. So if you like
Yep.
Darkest Dungeon,
yeah,
he's doing it.
Or you want to see our faces as we talk about weird crap. We're in that. Yeah. So
we're in that.
Yeah. we do that thing too.
Yep. This is true. And I mean, if we do transition into random like video things for the show, that's what those will be too. So
yes. We already mentioned it before, but we do have a Patreon where you can, if you back us at any dollar level at all, we deeply, deeply appreciate that. And our way of saying thank you is access to those audiobooks we mentioned.
We'll be recording them once a month.
Yep.
And we're starting with all of Lovecraft's work. So
Yeah.
we'll be busy for a while.
Yes.
But once that's done, we'll begin the probably complicated process of looking into licensing
To get
other bodies of work.
Yeah. There's a few other public domain authors in this vein that I'd like to visit, probably
For
first,
sure.
just to give us even that more amount of time to collect whatever funding needed to make that licensing process easier. So
For sure. We have no idea how to do it, so it'll be a learning process anyway.
yeah.
Yeah.
What else do we do, Joey?
I'm glad you asked.
I've forgotten it's so many things.
We
Make t-shirts.
we that's what we do. We come up with t-shirt ideas that remain on the chopping block until they're made. Straight in the guillotine.
Yeah.
Better hurry up. T-shirts gonna get cut up. I looked at Josh when I said that because he's the artist. I'm just the idea man.
I like to art.
I like to art. As far as the other things we do play board games as like a big portion of our lives and a big hobby for us. And we do that live on Twitch to share it with as many people as possible.
Yeah.
But that's not a themed show. That's a variety thing where we just sort of play. We take it in turns to play things that we want to play. And we do that with a couple of our friends.
Yep.
On Twitch at Cardboard on Tap. There'll be links to all this stuff we're mentioning in the description too. But yeah, we do that every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Central Standard. And we have a couple other shows where Josh paints miniatures from those board games, and I play solo games on Sundays and things like that. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, if you're a part of the hobby or interested in it from us mentioning it, that's pretty crazy. It's exciting. Tell us all about how your journeys through board gaming go, because it can be dangerous.
It can be. Yeah.
Put a padlock on your wallet.
Yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, we do that a lot. So it's good stuff.
Join us there. Just say hi.
Yeah, and then bye if you're
not feeling it.
If you don't want it, that's cool.
Yeah.
We appreciate you. In any way that you support us. I think that's all the things we do though.
I think so too.
We make a lot of stuff, but
heck yeah.
We can sum it up in one really elongated paragraph with no punctuation. Hell yeah.
I'm going to speed this portion of the audio up just to
God.
Yeah.
Hopefully you don't pitch it down so I sound like a chipmunk.
I won't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Don't stare into the well too long.
Or do. You can see stars down there.
Well, I mean, if you bring your welder's goggles, you can climb on in.